You are watching the Huddle Ninja here, of course, with Tony Farmer and Jason Anakin. Guys, let's get into some game props, sort of non-TD related props. Tons of star players on the field, as we've talked about already. 2 elite defenses, the best QB in the league, the best running back in the league, on and on and on with the Super Bowl 59 matchup. But Jay, you've got one on the best QB in the league, Patrick Mahomes. What do you got here?
Yeah, and this may be my favorite bet so far this weekend. I'm on Patrick Mahomes under half an interception thrown, or Patrick Mahomes not to throw a pick, -130. I have so much faith in him to protect the football, even against this skilled Eagles secondary. You know, he had a stretch early this season where he threw an interception in 7 straight games. Since that stretch, he's only been intercepted in 1 of his next 11 games. It was 2 that day. That was week 11 at Buffalo. That was November 17th. No picks since that day. Fumbled in the AFC Championship game. That was the first turnover for Kansas City in 521 snaps. You can be sure they want to play turnover-free football Sunday, as they've done most of the year. And the one guy I trust more than anyone is Mahomes. I know it can happen in the big game, but the mental game at this position is as important as the physical. His decision-making, even when I talk about his ability to use his legs now, he just does whatever he wants. The Eagles did force 13 interceptions in 17 regular season games this year. I just don't expect Mahomes to fall victim. I know it's 7 picks and 7 touchdowns, 5 picks in the big games, but I believe only 1 interception in his last 2. And as he evolves, I think this is a part of his game. So for me, I think I wake up with a 0 in that column for Patrick, so I'll play it.
Tony, you've got one from Eagles defense. Big play Slay. What do you like there?
Yeah, Darius Slay under 3.5 tackles and assists. And I want to give credit where credit is due. I got the impetus, the idea for this bet from Outlier. If you don't know what Outlier is, it's a great sports betting product. Go over to oddshark.com and check it out. But he's gone under this number in 59% of his games this year and 7 out of his last 10. And if you get tackles, you've heard me say this on the show before, guys, if you get tackles as a cornerback, that means you're being targeted. And I think Slay, when he's playing his best, and I think he will be at his best with an extra week of rest here, when he's playing his best, he is a mismatch for any wide receiver on the Chiefs. If I'm Mahomes, I don't feel good about throwing to any of my receivers when Darius Slay is in coverage. So I don't think he's going to get too many tackles and assists in this game.
And potential spot there where Mahomes looks at the rookie cornerbacks on that Eagles team and maybe picks on them a little bit more, even though they've both been fantastic this season. It might be a point of weakness in Mahomes' mind at the very least. Let me ask you guys this from Dixon. He's asking, where'd it go? This one here. Each team to score 1+ touchdown, 1+ field goal in each half, plus 1,400. Thoughts here, Jay?
First reaction is I like it. But if you want my honest opinion, those type of gimmicky, even propositions can be gimmicky to some extent to me. So something like this to me, which tends to be like heads, tails, is a little bit of a crapshoot. But I like not needing multiple in either department.
Yeah.
You know, so but Tony's point about these teams going forward on 4th down and prioritizing touchdowns, I think could get in the way of me wanting to pull the trigger on that.
We talked about Pacheco earlier, Jay, and you've got a game prop for him. What do you like?
I do, and I think maybe this will open up a slightly bigger conversation on the backfield for Kansas City, because I'm curious to pick both of your brains. I absolutely love Tony's play on Pacheco plus 330. So I'm curious, Tone, what you think of this. I'm on Pacheco over 3.5 receiving yards. I expect the Chiefs running backs to be involved in the passing game. I just think Pacheco's going to find his way onto the field a lot more. And I think 1 catch gets this bet home. I understand it could be tackled behind the line of scrimmage. I'm seeing his over 1.5 catches at plus 188 on FanDuel. But to me, over 3.5 yards, a little bit less risky. Kareem Hunt has been the more trusted back, but his usage even has diminished. I know he had 17 carries. His usage has diminished since Pacheco came back from that fractured fibula. That was in late November. But Pacheco was the Chiefs' #1 back to begin this season. And in the biggest game of the year, you need to be at your best. This kid's 25 years old, and I just think he's going to be a big part of this game. I think the way that Philly's defense is tough, I expect Mahomes to need to check the ball down here or there, and I just expect Pacheco to be the guy on the field. Tony's point, I would ask Tony how much he likes this, and I know he's going to get into another prop because the Pacheco touchdown may represent more value. This is -115, the plus 330 if he in fact gets those carries. But I just think Mahomes is going to be dinking and dunking a little bit, trying to get what's there. And so I think Pacheco is going to catch a ball or two. So 3.5 yards feels like a foregone conclusion.
Yeah, before you hop in, Tony, I agree with your first point you made, Jay, is that they're going to lean on throwing to those running backs, start dinking and dunking, and they'll be factored into the passing game. But Tony, go ahead.
Yeah, I don't hate it. I would just say for a bet like that, and you've probably already done this, Jason, but just compare that to like his 1 reception number or his 2 reception number, because if he's going over 3.5 yards, he's going to have a reception or 2. So just kind of compare those, which odds are better, et cetera. But he's kind of been weaned out of the offense a little bit so far the last couple, like since week 14 or so. But hey, maybe they're keeping his legs fresh for the Super Bowl. I would not be surprised at all to see this guy surprisingly get 12, 14 touches in this game. Like, I don't think it's going to happen, but it wouldn't shock me either.
Keep it going, Tony. You've got 3 more here. 1 more player prop and then a couple of game props, but you can just rip through these 3 if you want. Bring us home.
Yeah, Samaje Perine over 7.5 receiving yards. I got this at over 6.5 last week, but still love it at over 7.5. Guys, he's gone over this total in 14 of his last 15 games. What else do you need to hear me say? That's a pretty sweet price there. Eagles are without Nakobe Dean. You've heard me say this several times the last couple of weeks. Oren Burks is his replacement. That is a matchup that Perine can exploit, him versus Oren Burks. I don't think Perine's going to get a ton of snaps, but he's the kind of guy that can get, like we saw last week or 2 weeks ago in the AFC Championship game, he'll have 9 snaps, but have 1 really big play on 3rd down.
And can I just get in there real quick? See, that's what's so interesting. If you're watching this program, where do you go, right? Tony likes Pacheco to find pay dirt, but has much more confidence in Perine to catch a couple balls or do something out there, right? If I recall, Perine, it was sort of almost like toward the end of the game where he had that one sort of long carry in the championship game. But it really is fascinating picking your spots, right? And to your point, yes, the over 1.5 for Pacheco was plus 188. So maybe a little more value there, but I was thinking, hey, he only needs 1 catch with my 3.5, but it'll be really interesting. You can be sure I'm tailing that 330 as well. Go ahead.
Tony, you've got a couple more here from the Eagles and a defensive specific prop as well. You can just rip through those 2 here.
Yeah. How about this one, guys? Eagles score first and lose the game. Plus 340. I like this one a lot because if you parlay them together separately, depending on which sports book you're on, you're going to get somewhere around like plus 260, plus 254, something like that, right? So it feels like a great number. And let me just mention, in all 3 of the Chiefs' last Super Bowl wins, their opponents scored first. They are a team that's very comfortable playing from behind. We'll say it a million times this week, just like we did last week. They save their best for last. So the idea of Saquon ripping off a long run in the first quarter and the Eagles going up 7-0 and then the Chiefs coming back to win is pretty sweet. But the other thing I'll mention about this, if you're someone like Jason or I who already has a bet on the Chiefs, money line or -1, it is a little tiny bit of like a semi-hedge. It's not a pure hedge, but whoever scores first, it's good news for you in a way, right? So it's something, to keep in mind as well. If I'm on the Chiefs, and if the Eagles go up 3-0, knowing that if the Chiefs win now, this side bet is going to be worth plus 340 on a Chiefs win is a pretty sweet spot to be in. And then my other bet is actually minus 340 bet. No defensive or special teams touchdowns to happen in this game. Jason did a great job of breaking down how Mahomes just doesn't turn the ball over in these spots. He hasn't for the last 8 weeks. Same thing can be said for Hurts. I think it's been 9 weeks for him, actually. They also both don't fumble the ball. And for this bet, it really is the pick 6 that you're worried about destroying this bet. So with 2 good quarterbacks, also throw in there, in a dome, there's probably slightly less likely to be kickoffs returned for a touchdown as well to ruin your bet that way. So I think even though that's a lot of juice, I do think that 340 number is pretty safe.